Most of us know that there are certain things that make the person we want to attract feel good and interested. The problem is that we almost always think only about what we want from others, without stopping to reflect on what they want or need from us. Maybe we have some flashes of seductive behavior from time to time, but we ruin it instantly with something selfish or aggressive, pushed by the hurry to get what we want. Or perhaps we show a mundane and uninteresting side of ourselves, killing any illusion or fantasy someone might have formed. On many occasions, our attempts at seduction fail because we don't maintain them long enough. It's not enough to have a good personality or to do something nice or attractive occasionally. To seduce, you have to take the time and proceed more slowly. The slower you carry out the process, the deeper you will delve into the other person's mind. This is an art that requires attention, patience, and the ability to anticipate. It's always about staying one step ahead, creating a kind of spell, throwing dust in their eyes to divert your target's gaze and thus enter their head without them noticing. In this video, you will discover a set of techniques that you can play like an instrument. These techniques are not in the conventional order, from the first contact with the victim to the happy ending, but are guided by the natural development of the human mind and emotions over time. Since people are usually focused on daily concerns, you cannot start seducing until you gradually remove those fears and fill that person's head with thoughts about you. Next, you will learn how to do this. In any relationship, it's normal for things to stagnate or for routine to generate boredom. To prevent that, you must keep your victim's interest alive, surprise them, intensify emotions, and even shake them up from time to time. A lover cannot fall into repetitive habits. You will learn how to alternate between hope and despair, happiness and pain, until your prey lowers their guard. Each strategy prepares the ground for the next and allows you to take the game further, with increasingly risky and aggressive actions, though always in a calculated manner and at the right pace. Remember that a seducer cannot be shy or overly kind. You will learn to make the victim think of you, access their emotions, provoking pleasure and confusion. Go deeper, working on their unconscious and repressed desires, and achieve total physical abandonment. The result of following these phases is to generate a hypnotic and ritualistic effect in your seduction process, as if it were a kind of initiation ceremony in which you break the other person's old habits so that they experience something new, going through various tests until they reach the final surrender. Having you. The best way to apply these strategies is to pay attention to the next few minutes and understand all the parts, then choose which ones best fit your objective according to the personality of your prey and the resistance they present. If necessary, it will be enough to apply a few strategies. Other times, a complete arsenal will be required to break down their defenses, depending on how complex their problems and character are. Keep in mind that, with minimal modifications, these techniques can also be used in social or political seductions, with Phase 4 being the only one that omits the physical part. Don't fall into the temptation to rush the seduction or to improvise carelessly. The seducer does not make love. They focus on the art of seduction. In everyday life, everything moves quickly. To truly seduce, you must present something different. Slowness and attention to detail not only disarm the victim, but also envelop them and enchant them in a much more powerful way. Phase 1. Separation. Provoke interest and desire. Your victims are initially stuck in their routine, immersed in daily worries. The first step is to distance them from that closed world and begin to shift their thoughts towards you. Once you identify whom you want to seduce, your job will be to capture their attention and awaken their curiosity. If the person is resistant or difficult to reach, you will need to proceed more slowly and subtly, presenting yourself first as a friend. If, on the other hand, the person is bored and easily accessible, you can bet on a more dramatic move, creating a halo of mystery, or presenting yourself as an object that others also desire. Once you have captured their interest, you need to intensify that attention into desire. Remember that desire is often preceded by a feeling of emptiness, a lack that needs to be filled. Your task is to provoke that feeling of emptiness emphasizing that the victim lacks some adventure, some romance, and make them believe that you can fill that gap. In this way, you will turn their mere interest into desire. Then, increase their appetite with hints of future pleasures, giving them just a glimpse of all they could enjoy. And if you mimic their values and provide what they crave, you will be a source of charm and pleasure for them without them almost noticing. When their mind can no longer stop thinking about you, it's time to bring them a concrete temptation, something sweet and appetizing that they cannot resist and that pushes them to act. Let's start with the most important thing: choosing the right person to seduce. It all depends on the person you want to seduce. Learn as much as you can about your prey and choose only those who show some ease in falling under your spell. In other words, the ideal victims are those who need you, who discover something different in you. They are usually lonely or somewhat dissatisfied people, perhaps due to a recent bad streak, or those who are easy to bring into that state of vulnerability. Remember that it is almost impossible to fully seduce someone who is completely happy and content with their life. The perfect victim also makes you feel intensely attracted. This quality energizes you, and your seductive maneuvers look more authentic. It motivates you, making you creative, bold, and enthusiastic. Keys to seduction. Seduction accompanies us throughout life. We cannot be liked by everyone, nor should we obsess over it. It is better to take risks with those who show some openness and stay away from those who are completely immune to our charms. To discover your potential prey, guide yourself by their body language and uncontrolled gestures. A sudden blush, unintentionally mimicking one of your gestures, a shy look, or even a spark of anger. The natural intensity that arises when someone truly attracts you will make you express yourself strongly and turn the game of seduction into something lively, almost theatrical, with a degree of risk that adds flavor. Do not let the other person realize all that power they exert over you. If they see that they completely dominate you, you will cease to be a challenge and your game will fall short. Now let's talk about approaching with a false sense of security. If you are too obvious, your target will raise an impossible barrier to overcome. At the beginning, do not show any of your seductive side. Approach from an unexpected angle so that the victim does not have time to become defensive. Make yourself present on the periphery of their life. Make them perceive your presence almost by chance, either through mutual friends or even by feigning destined encounters. If the other person is reluctant, handle it carefully, showing a superficial friendship or complicity that can gradually transform into desire. Build trust, and when they have relaxed, make your move. A classic example is becoming a friend of your prey to know their character, likes, weaknesses, and hidden dreams. Do not forget the importance of giving space. When someone feels they are being followed too closely, they get scared. So, alternate between some closeness and just the right amount of coldness, letting the victim be the one who moves towards you rather than chasing them. Maintain an innocent or neutral air. There is a part of mystery in the opposite sex, or in the person to be seduced, and we all feel anxious when someone new likes us. If your presence is perceived as too intense at first, people usually flee. Casanova, for example, sometimes adopted a touch of femininity by showing interest in topics like fashion or theater to avoid raising suspicion. Think of the spider's strategy. It does not chase, but weaves its web and waits. The seducer must offer enough attraction for the prey to take the step and get entangled without noticing the trap. Sometimes a quick and unexpected attack works, especially if you notice that your prey might respond to the immediate impact of desire, just as Casanova did with certain women. But these are usually more fleeting seductions. In most cases, the indirect, gentle, and pressure-free approach is more effective and lasting. Send contradictory signals. Once the person has seen you and perhaps feels some curiosity, you need to secure their attention. Something spectacular and obvious can capture the gaze, but it often doesn't last long. In the long run, ambiguity is much more powerful. Maintain a mysterious air, send a mix of signals or personality traits, strong and delicate, spiritual and worldly, honest and a little deceptive, and thus awaken in the victim the desire to understand you. This power resides in contradiction. Suggest that there are several layers in you. Show something opposite to your first impression. Leave a halo of secrecy that incites your prey's imagination. Most people are too clear and predictable. If you exhibit confusing facets, it will be impossible for them to lose interest in deciphering you. The moment they start daydreaming about you, they will be one step away from falling for the seduction. Note: be subtle. Don't want to appear bipolar or overly changeable, as that rather repels. Mix, for example, a touch of shyness in the midst of your boldness, a sweet gesture in your sarcastic facet, and let curiosity do its work. There are people who prefer everything simple and direct. Enigmas and ambiguity can make them impatient. Observe their behavior. If they do not respond well to complexity, avoid confusing signals and stick to a more direct charm. Appear as an object of desire. Create triangles. Few people are attracted to someone that no one else desires. We need what others also want. For your victim to yearn for you, you must project that image of a coveted person. Make them feel that conquering your attention is an achievement. This will increase your value in their eyes. Surround yourself with people, friends, former lovers, potential suitors who demonstrate your popularity. Always show yourself as someone sought after. Mention, discreetly, your past flings or comments from people who admire you. Generate triangles subtly. Some third party who seems to desire you and arouses jealousy or competition in the victim. This is a social phenomenon. We are creatures guided by imitation and competition. We desire what shines in the midst of crowds, what others enjoy, to possess the trophy that everyone wants. Classic examples. Casanova dressed in flashy clothes to steal glances and provoke the woman he was interested in to feel the need to approach. Pauline Bonaparte always surrounded herself with admirers at dances to project the idea that she was difficult to reach. The Duke of Richelieu seduced 2 women at the same time, making them compete for his favor. This tactic exploits our fear of not being enough and our wounded pride when someone has more attention than us. If they discover that many desire you, they will want to snatch you away from everyone. It's key not to let your victim always see you as available. Maintain some distance. Be somewhat elusive. What is valuable is usually scarce, and people seek it more eagerly. Create a need. Awaken anxiety and discontent. It is almost impossible to seduce someone who is fully and absolutely satisfied. You need to generate some level of restlessness or break. Make the victim feel dissatisfied with their life. Notice a void. See their days lacking adventure or romance. Thus, you present yourself as the answer to those lacks. Emphasize that their routine is dull, or that they have lost passion for something. Show them subtly, not cruelly, how little they have fulfilled their youthful dreams. Appeal to the lack of excitement in their daily life. From there, the person will think about what they are missing and see in you the hope to fill that gap. Before pleasure comes tension, and you need them to feel that slight pain that can only be relieved by approaching you. For example, David Lawrence, a recognized writer, would establish friendship, share confidences, then release painfully accurate criticisms that would shake the other person's confidence. When the victim was left confused, he would return with his charm and offer comfort, becoming a savior and making them love him more strongly. Boredom, the feeling that life is monotonous, becomes the crack through which the seducer enters. Showing yourself as different gives the impression that your world is broader and more intense. Invite the victim to experience something they have never lived before. Highlight their frustrations. Make them see that their usual environment is mediocre, that they have given up past dreams, and you are the promise of revitalizing their spirit. Learn the art of suggestion. You have already generated the idea of need or void in the victim's mind. However, being too explicit can put them on guard. This is where suggestion comes in, planting ideas without it being noticeable, letting them germinate in their unconscious. Use strong statements, followed by, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. so they keep turning them over in their heads. Employ ambiguous comments, knowing glances, seemingly trivial conversations with a seductive nuance. Sow the doubt or the image you want, and in a few days, you will find that the person cannot get it out of their mind. This technique is very powerful because it bypasses defenses. People protect themselves when they know you are trying to manipulate them, but suggestion works in the background and leaves the victim thinking about your insinuations as if they were their own. Learn the language of seduction. Everyday life is full of direct and boring phrases. Charm resides in an air of mystery that is achieved by suggesting rather than stating. A brief look, a gentle touch, a vaguely romantic comment. Everything creates a playful and electrifying atmosphere. Learn to plant seeds. Imagine planting seeds in the ground. No one will know that you were the one who threw them. When you see them bloom, it will be because the victim's mind nurtured your insinuations. But if you perceive that the victim is already receptive and has few defenses, a frontal attack can be overwhelming, as in cases where Casanova suddenly declared his passion. But if there are still doubts, it will be safer to maintain subtle suggestion. At this point, we have seen the first necessary strategies for your prey to separate from their usual world and start noticing you as something irresistible. You have learned to select the right person, initiate the approach subtly, avoiding raising alarms, send confusing signals that maintain your prey's curiosity, project desirability, using jealousy and competition, generate need, emphasizing lacks, and awakening dissatisfaction. Use suggestion and the power of insinuation without revealing all your intentions. Up to here, the person or your target will be beginning to think about you regularly, feeling a flutter in their stomach every time you appear, or even when you are not near. Their normal life begins to seem a bit more gray, and you rise as a burst of color, a promise of something exciting. Due to time constraints, I had to divide this part of the seduction process into two. In the next video, you will learn how to take your target to a level where desire not only ignites but grows into an immersive experience. In that scenario, attachment becomes almost unbreakable, and the relationship acquires an unusual intensity. They turn the simple attraction you created into a constant need for your presence. You will discover how to sustain and elevate that longing to such a point that your prey clings to you almost inevitably, without realizing how they became tied to your charms. Those who understand the importance of that final step know that the keys to triggering the most intense desire and forging a difficult-to-break bond are hidden there. After all, the true art of seduction is perfected in the next video, where every resource, every strategy, and every nuance is combined to make you unforgettable and ensure that the other person feels that everything they seek is in you. You will discover how to complete the puzzle, becoming someone truly unforgettable